Hi everyone, this is Navila Zaman and today we are going to learn about diffusion in biology. And this is our third lesson of O-level biology, and without any further ado, let's just get started. So imagine yourself doing some work in a desk or laying down on bed, and maybe your father or your mother is cooking something in the kitchen, and you get the smell of food coming from the kitchen even though you are in your bedroom. So how does this happen? This spreading out of gas has occurred through a process called diffusion. Now, what exactly is diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of molecules from a region where they are in higher concentration to a region where they are in lower concentration, that is down a concentration gradient. This is the definition of diffusion. So let's write it down. So as you can see, that diffusion is the net movement of molecules from a region where they are in higher concentration to a region where they are in lower concentration, that is down a concentration gradient. Now we say net movement because that is the overall movement, but it does not mean that the molecules cannot move in the other direction, and it does not mean that the molecules eventually stop moving either. The molecules, they are constantly moving even when the equilibrium is reached. It is just the overall movement, the net movement is from the high concentration to a low concentration until the equilibrium has reached. Yes. Secondly, diffusion is a passive transport. That means that an input of energy is not needed. We say that passive transport does not require added energy. When we talk about diffusion of molecules in cells, for example, the diffusion of oxygen molecules into a cell, it is classified as passive transport. Now, a concentration gradient is already a form of potential energy. Passive transport is different from other types of processes that we detail in cell transport, like active transport, where an input of energy is required. Now, for us, the best way to understand diffusion is to picture it as the random movement of molecules down a concentration gradient. Let me draw a diagram. Now look at this figure. This graph, this shows a concentration gradient. The substance that we are interested in, it is more concentrated at point A, as you can see in this diagram, than at point B, because it has more amount of molecules and thus it is more concentrated. There is a concentration difference between these 2 points, and when we join the concentrations at these 2 points where their values are measured by the height of the lines, we get a straight line that is sloped, or it has a gradient. Now this line is the concentration gradient between these 2 points. So the difference in concentration between the 2 regions is known as the diffusion or concentration gradient. And thus it is important for us to understand that the steeper the gradient is, the faster the molecules will move. And this is an important rule for diffusion, that is, steeper the concentration gradient for a substance, the faster the rate of diffusion will be for that substance. Now let us look at the definition of concentration gradient. So basically, the difference in the concentration of a substance between 2 areas is called the concentration gradient. And the bigger the difference, the steeper the concentration gradient and the faster the rate of diffusion takes place. Now before we end this lesson, you might wonder that why should I care about this diffusion thing? Now you should know that diffusion is critical for all of life. Cells are the living unit that builds up all of life, and materials that cells need to survive have to get in, and waste materials or the waste molecules of the cell have to go out. Now, while diffusion is certainly not the only kind of cell transport, we are going to learn about osmosis and active transport in the next 2 videos. Diffusion is responsible for many critical items. As you sit here right now, diffusion is responsible for the oxygen leaving the alveoli of the lungs to your blood. Likewise, the waste gas carbon dioxide is able to exit your blood into the alveoli, a critical process that is only made possible by the help of diffusion. And that is why it is very important for you to understand that how diffusion takes place and why is it important. And that is all for this video. I really hope that I could help you to understand the process of diffusion, and in the next two videos we are also going to talk about osmosis and active transport, which is the third chapter of our O-level syllabus. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please give a like and comment down below if you have any feedback for us, and share this video. Thank you.